month is just around the corner, and that will be the half of the year. My prayer for you, that the half of the year will be better, better, better than what we have experienced. You know, I know it has been a very interesting, I always put it that way, interesting half of the year, but our God is able, and I'm trusting him that as we cross over to the other half, we will experience God as never before. So I can't wait for us to cross over and see what God has for us. I mean, I think it's Wednesday is first. I believe that God will surely do something in our life. So thank you so much. Please use a few minutes of your time and share the video. Share the video. We are on Instagram right now. And I want to use this opportunity to thank my daughter, Abby, who is digging every few minutes, trying to figure out what we can do best. And all my executive producer, Bishop Krepi, thank you. And my wonderful, wonderful son, TJ and Emmanuel, who has been behind this. I just show my face here, but they have been working so hard on this. So thank you so, so, so much. So we are on Instagram now. Please, you can go there and share the video right now to your friends. On Facebook, of course, share the video. And guess what? YouTube, you can just go there later and watch it. We will try as much as possible to also be live there. So, I mean, things are happening, but for now, we download the video just after that, so you can just go there and watch it. But, you know, if you don't subscribe, then it will be very, you can't go there. So please subscribe. I mean, my YouTube is very, very sad. It's like just a few people there. So please do me a great favor. I mean, you guys have been very awesome. So just go there and make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel too. Victoria Krepi, okay? I'm right there. So thank you once again. It's a wonderful day because I have wonderful, wonderful gentleman, very handsome man, very real estate mogul, who is doing great, great, great things. And I felt it so fit to bring him out here for him to tell you what's going on. So share the video once again. Let me see what I have here. So share the video once again. Tag your friends to come in. If you are in the groups, make sure that you tag them. So I have, what should I call you? Did I call you Mr.? Do you want it?
You can call me whatever you want to call me.
And I know you are PK too. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. That's right. That's
right. So it's very, very interesting. But I have Mr. No, okay, I'll call him.
You can call me Mr. Kwanzaa, Mr. Josiah, whatever you want to call me.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, but he's just doing very wonderful there. So please, if you have, I mean, this show is for everybody. Pastors, you have sons who are teenagers. They are not even thinking about this topic that we are going to treat, real estate. You have people in your house. You want to listen to it. I think even our Bible says a lack of knowledge, my people perish. There's a lot of things that we can do that will also give us a little bit of voice, a little bit stand in this country that we don't really put attention to it. And that's why we are going to put it out there today. So it's a show that I want everybody to watch it and share it. If you are in the group, share it. There's somebody who hear information here that will make him better next year, make him better the next 6 months, make him better, you know, as we move forward. So please share the video. But once again, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome
Thank you
so much to Woman of Influence. We are so excited to have you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. It's truly a pleasure to be here. I give all glory to God. You know, I think, to be honest, this had to be divinely ordained. I don't know what led you to reach out to me at the time that you did, but it's been on my heart for me to share more of some of the things that God has gifted me with the body of Christ, with the general population as well. And you know, it's just truly a privilege to be here. I'm truly honored, and I I just hope and pray that I can deliver some value. Somebody out there might learn and be inspired to do something out of this, and that I may be a resource to the community.
Wow, thank you so much. And we are so blessed. So he's a pastor's son. He's a musician. And he just loves God. I follow him. Sometimes I follow people, they don't even know I follow them. I follow him on social media, so I know his passion for the things of God is just amazing. You don't really see handsome young men like this have such a passion for Christ. So it's just amazing. But you are in real estate. That's what you do.
Yes.
Wow. So when we say that real estate, what is real estate?
That's a fantastic question. So real estate is a very broad term,
Okay.
but to keep it simple,
Yeah.
Essentially what real estate is actually it's land plus any improvements or any properties or buildings that are on top of the land. Now it also goes further and actually involves the mineral rights, the natural resources in the land. It also involves the air rights. So there's a lot of layers to real estate, but as we know it, it's mostly the land and the improvements, which are the buildings, any accessory units where you could have a mother-in-law suite in the back, you could have a swing set in the back, you could have a pool. All those things are incorporated into the real estate. So that's, in a technical sense, what real estate is. But in a broader sense, why real estate is so important,
Yeah.
I always tell people is you can't avoid real estate. It's all around us. This building that we're in is real estate. The roads that we drive on is real estate. The trees around us, everything is real estate. So you literally cannot avoid real estate. So one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this topic is simply because everybody has access to it.
Okay.
It's truly an equal opportunity industry because it's accessible to anybody.
Wow.
You just have to have the right knowledge.
Okay.
Right? So that's why I'm here. I'm here to share some knowledge so that someone out there might be empowered to realize, like, hey, I can actually do this. Because believe me, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Trust me on that.
Yeah, but you just made a statement. Says that anybody can
Yes.
access it.
Yes.
But it's kind of no-go zone for some of us who don't have the right insight to
Right.
work. But you just make it plain that anybody can
Right.
access it. So is it lack of knowledge on some of us, our path?
Yes, absolutely. I'll be honest with you. When I first learned about real estate, I was about 19 years old.
Okay.
I didn't even realize some of the possibilities that were out there. I didn't even know a fraction of it. It opened up an entire new world, an entire new way of thinking about everything, and it completely changed my life.
Okay.
So part of the reason I'm here is just to spark something, plant a seed so that whoever's listening might explore further, dig deeper, and learn a bit more about this thing we call real estate, because I truly believe there's something out there for everybody in real estate. I firmly, firmly believe that. Anybody can be involved in real estate, regardless of age, regardless of experience, regardless of background, regardless of skin color. It doesn't matter. Everybody has an equal opportunity to be involved in real estate. And so, yes, part of it is lack of knowledge. Part of it is just mindset, a way of thinking where we don't realize what's actually possible and how the world works.
Yeah.
But with the right education, with the right people around you, it can be done, and it's absolutely possible. And so one thing I want to say is I love the fact that this program is called Woman of Influence. I absolutely love that because I truly do believe women have tremendous influence. Honestly, there's nobody that has more influence than women.
Oh.
Nobody.
You just
Absolutely
throwing that
nobody.
like that.
And
good.
part of the reason I say that is because if you look at Proverbs 31, it talks about the Proverbs 31 woman, and I mean the way it describes her, it's not the way society frames woman. It's actually very powerful, very ambitious, very industrious, very hardworking, very creative, she is the ideal woman that's described in Proverbs 31 is somebody that's very hardworking and industrious. Now, the thing that people don't talk about is that actually in verse 16, it talks about how she actually goes and inspects a field, and she actually buys it, and she uses her earnings to actually plant a vineyard.
Wow.
That in and of itself is real estate investment. So if you're watching this,
Wow.
and you are a woman, I want you to know that you are a woman of influence, and part of your calling is to actually invest, to actually take your earnings and actually put it into real estate, real assets, something that can actually build wealth, generational wealth, and pass it on to your future generation. You know, and the Bible also talks about, you know, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children.
Yeah.
So what that tells us is that it's something that endures time. It actually stands the test of time. It's not just for one generation, it's for 2 generations and beyond.
Yeah.
So that's what real estate offers. That's what it has to offer, and that's what I want everybody to have in the back of their mind as to why we're even talking about this subject. So yeah, I'm extremely passionate about it. This is honestly my favorite topic to talk about, and I'm very excited to really pour out to everyone.
Wow. Please, if you are watching us, continue to share the video. I mean, he says something that he thinks is a divine connection for us, because I was there thinking about what is going on, and I tried to read some things, and I'm like, sometimes we focus on so many negative things that's going on. We forget about how to take opportunity even in negative situation. Because of what is going on, the interest rate is low. We're going to talk about things have been cut down. That if you are not focusing on, you think that this virus is at your door and is going to bounce on you, and you look a little bit further, after all is said and done, you could see that you will be in a better place than when all these things started. And that's why I brought him here, for us to talk about this. And the women that are watching, I think this is a nugget. Okay, this is a nugget. We should not just leave everything for our men. Have the opportunity. Please, let's do it. Because at the end of the day, we will leave it for our children. That's the best thing we can leave for them. So how young can one start to think about this great opportunity that I feel like it's so exclusive for some people.
Right.
So how young? Maybe you say that you get into it at 19. Yes. I wish I have that. I wish I have that knowledge at 19. But how young is how young for us to start thinking about it, or educating our young men? You know, my daughter just turned 18. In a church, we have a lot of young people. How young do they have to start thinking about this great opportunity?
So that's a fantastic question. I'm glad you asked that. So when I got started, everybody that I talked to that was in the industry, they said the same thing over and over. They're like, I wish I got started at your age. I wish I got started earlier.
Wow.
I wish. It's a recurring theme I see over and over. You can't start early enough.
Okay.
So the answer to your question is truly as early as physically possible. From a legal standpoint, technically, you have to be 18 years old in the state of Georgia to actually sign a binding contract for it to actually be held up as binding. But there's other ways to get around it. I know people that started before the age of 18. All you have to do is get your parents involved, actually have them sign on your behalf and things of that nature. But there's always a way around it. So you're never too young to get started. And the best thing you can do is educate yourself even before you start. Like, start educating yourself. You start learning, start studying, start watching YouTube videos, start joining Facebook groups, start networking, connecting with people. There's so many things you can do before you actually dive in. But from a legal standpoint, the age of 18 is the ideal time to start, just because you can actually sign binding contracts. But yeah, you can't start early enough. You know, like I said, I started learning about it at the age of 19. I did my first deal at the age of 20, and you know, from there, I just never looked back. I never looked back. It completely changed the trajectory of my life, and I'm just grateful that I was so lucky and blessed to have stumbled into it early, totally by fluke. It wasn't something I ever aspired to be. It wasn't something I ever knew about. It was just something that came up out of the blue. Wow. One of my good friends told me about it back in 2014, I believe it was. He told me about it he sent me an email. He said, hey, check out this ebook. You know, it talks about real estate and stuff. I knew nothing about it. After I read it, I was like, my mind was blown. I was absolutely blown away, and it just completely changed the way I look at everything. So you can't start early enough, long story short.
So now, 2020, here we are. I know that none of us, beginning of this year, thought That's how half of the year. And even now, there are still a lot of information that people are still getting this virus and everything. So 2020, here we are, and it's like a roller coaster,
Yeah.
and it's very, very interesting season that we find ourselves in. But is it still good time to jump on this opportunity, or we should just count 2020 off?
Yeah, that's a fair question. We're truly in unprecedented times. We've never seen something like this. Some people compare it to 2008. Honestly, I don't think it's the same at all, but some people are saying it could be worse. But frankly, what you'll find about real estate is that actually the best times to get started are usually the worst economic conditions. That's
Okay.
usually the best time to jump in. But I say that with a grain of salt because I don't want anybody to rush into anything they're not prepared for. I believe that 2020 is it's a great opportunity to get started, but if you're not prepared, it could also be an opportunity to make a lot of mistakes. So the thing about real estate is it's an inefficient market, and what I mean by that is so the stock market is, in a technical sense, is an efficient market. So you can actually buy and sell almost in real time, almost instantaneously. Real estate, it's a lot slower of a timeline. It's a much slower process to buy and sell. Not everyone has access to the same information. So what that does is it actually creates an opportunity for, excuse me, it creates an opportunity for people to actually make mistakes, right? Which is, obviously sounds like a bad thing, but on the other side of it is also an opportunity. So there's a lot of opportunity for people to make mistakes and for people to come in and add value to help people out of those mistakes.
Yeah.
So for example, somebody might start a project, start working on a house, and they make some miscalculation, go over budget, they can't complete it, right? So now that's an opportunity for someone to come in and say, hey, I'll actually buy the property off of you, and you can actually get it for a discount.
Okay.
Because it's not complete yet. There's actually some value you're bringing by actually taking on the project. So you're able to command more of a discount. You can't do that in the stock market. You're not going to get a property you're not going to get a stock
Yeah,
at 60, 70% of value in the
Okay.
stock market. It doesn't happen. But in real estate, that happens on a regular basis. That's literally what I do all day, every day, is find deep discounts on properties and find great investment opportunities. And it really just is a result of the inefficiency of real estate. So with that said, we're in 2020.
Yeah.
There's a ton of mistakes being made. A lot of people, are being affected, it's an awful thing. But at the same time, you want to decide which side of the coin do you want to be on.
That's
You want to
it.
be on the side of the ones actually being hurt, or you're going to be on the side of the ones actually taking advantage and finding ways to bring value to the marketplace. And real estate is a great opportunity. A lot of people reach out to us, they need to sell all of a sudden because they had some savings, but now COVID came in, they can't work, they had to dip into their savings. Now they might have to liquidate some of their
Wow.
properties, and they need someone that can actually perform and close on it quickly, which we have the ability to do because we have the access to the money. We can actually close on the properties in a much quicker timeline than if they had to, go on the general market and wait for someone to come by and actually buy it. So we're able to deliver some value to the people that actually need to actually sell their properties. So it's a great opportunity to get started, but I will say, don't get started for the sake of getting started.
Okay.
Do your homework, get educated, get around people that are doing it, learn from their mistakes, and figure out what the pitfalls are. And that's what I'm here for as well. I want to be a resource to anybody that wants to actually learn the real side of things, because it's not all roses and sunshine all the time.
Okay.
There are truly some challenges. A lot of people got hurt in 2008, and a lot of people are getting hurt right now in
Right now.
2020.
Wow.
And so you want to be as educated as possible so you don't end up like that, and you also can add value to the people that might have a situation like that. So yeah, I would say it's a great time to get started. Overall, what I would say is just pay attention to the market, pay attention to what's going on. We actually slowed things down a little bit when COVID started and it started getting serious. We slowed
Yeah.
things down just so we can watch and be patient.
Okay.
So part of investing is using wisdom and not just being arrogant and thinking that, oh, the market is crashing, I can just go in and take advantage of all these deals. That's not how it works. You have to be wise. You have to be very diligent in your analysis of things and know that, okay, this is the right opportunity to take on. This is the risk I'm getting into. You have to look at all types of factors. So it's not as simple as just jumping in. You have to actually be educated and know what to look out for. And so, over the years, I've learned kind of what to look for
Okay.
in properties, what to pay attention to in the market. So we were able to adjust very quickly, thankfully, but not everyone was. I
Okay.
know many people that weren't able to adjust as quickly, and they got stuck,
Wow.
with multiple projects. They couldn't sell their properties, and people couldn't go out and look at properties, actually walk the home. They had to do it virtually. So it did affect things a little bit, but overall, the market, I believe, is actually as strong as ever right now. It's actually a very hot market, very strong market. So it's a great time to be involved, and
Okay.
great opportunity to make a lot of money.
Okay, good. So we have a question right now. It says that what are the steps I have to prepare investing in properties? What are some of the steps that I have to,
Yeah.
prepare for
Okay.
if I want to invest in any real estate?
Okay.
What are some of the steps?
So that's a broad question as well. So it really depends on where you are in in your educational process.
Okay.
I think the very first thing for someone starting from scratch is find a mentor. 100% hands down. Find a mentor. Find somebody that has actually
Can I
been
find
there.
you as a
Oh,
mentor?
absolutely, absolutely. You already know. You already know. I'm here. I'm available. So you find someone that's already in the trenches, that's actually doing it.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but there's a lot of people that they teach, but they don't practice what they teach. They kind of talk about it, but they're not actually doing it actively.
Okay.
So you have to be careful about that. There's a lot of courses out there, a lot of education, but it's not always based on what's actually going on in the real world today. Today's a different market than 2019
Okay.
and 2018. So you need people that are actively in the business, not people that were in it 10 years ago, 20
Okay.
years ago. It's a
Wow.
different market. So we're actively doing this. I actually have 2 closings right after this. And so I can tell you the real world, the facts of what's actually going on, so that you don't make the same mistakes that other people are making. So find a mentor, hands down, the first step, I would say. And then the second step is start building your team.
Okay.
What I mean by that is it's a team sport. Real estate is a team sport. You're never going to do it alone. No matter what, you're going to need an attorney to close your deal. You're going to need lenders. You're going to need sellers. You're going to need agents. You're going to need construction crews. You're going to need all types of people on your team to actually succeed in this business. So the second thing I would say is start developing your team, start connecting, networking with people that are in the industry, CPAs, attorneys, construction managers, like all types of people that can actually come together and help you run your business.
Okay.
So it takes some time to really make sure that you find the right people, but that's the first thing you definitely want to do, because your people is going to affect so much in your business in terms of real estate. Just hiring the wrong people or bringing the wrong people on your team could absolutely be catastrophic. So that's a very critical step. Don't rush it. Having mentors is helpful in this phase, because they can actually point out what to look for and what to avoid. And then once you develop your team, and you've gotten your education, you've gotten a mentor and everything, then you start really, I would say first, before you even start looking for your first property, I always recommend start lining up your capital, which what I mean by that is start lining up your money, whether it's partners, whether it's lenders, investors, whatever the case may be. Now, I will say this, that's optional, because you don't actually need money, and that's something I'll get into later. If you like. You actually don't need money, and we'll talk about it.
Why not you are here? Let's talk about it. Because I was going to say is that, do you need money to start it? Because a lot of people will say that, but I don't even have $1,000 in my account. How can I start?
Yes.
So once you are here,
yes. Oh, trust me, I'm going to make sure I share all the nuggets and all the gems. So you actually don't necessarily need access to money to be involved in this business.
Okay.
It helps. It absolutely helps to make sure you line that up. But I would say try to do that first, and then start looking for your first deal, because what that'll do is actually, it'll give you the confidence knowing that, hey, if I find the right deal, I know I can execute, right? Okay. But now, like I was saying before, there's a way to do this business without actually having access to money. When I was 19, did you think I had money? No, I actually didn't. I was working for $8 an hour at a retail store. I had no money, no savings. I had nothing. All I had was ambition, a dream, hopes, faith in God. I didn't have anything, right? But there was a lot of strategies that I started to learn and started to implement that actually allowed me to get involved, start doing deal after deal after deal with little to no money out of my own pocket, right? And so that's something I'd love to share with you all. So I'll give you an example, right? So the traditional way, most people think about doing real estate is I find a house, I go to a bank, I get a loan, and I get qualified, go through the whole process, rigmarole, run my credit and everything, and then I buy the house, and then I manage it and go from there, right? So that's the traditional investing process. That's what most people know.
Okay.
And that's how I thought it had to be done. I thought if I don't have money, how can I do it?
Yes.
The only people doing real estate are rich people, people
Uh-huh.
that have a lot of money, have money from their parents. Like, how am I going to get involved?
Yeah.
But the truth is, real estate, like many other asset classes, it's actually something that can be controlled without owning it. You can actually control real estate without owning it. How do you do that? It's done through contracts. It's done
Okay.
through paperwork, right? So you can actually buy stocks and not actually buy the stock. You can buy the option to a stock. You
Yeah.
can buy certain financial assets or paper that can actually give you control or give you some type of leverage over an asset without actually owning the asset.
Yeah.
So that's something I had to shift my mindset into realizing, like, I can control real estate without owning it, right?
Okay.
So how that works is if I find a house and I actually want to purchase it, I can go ahead and sign a contract with the homeowner and say, hey, I'd like to buy your house. I'll give you $100,000 for that house, right? Perfect. And, that I can go ahead and get the money lined up and take on the property and then do whatever I need to do, fix it up, resell it and whatnot. But if I just happen to not have the money, right? There's a way you can actually do it where rather than actually buying the property, you can actually find somebody that will actually take your place in that contract,
Okay.
and you can actually sell your rights to that person, and they can actually buy you out of the contract,
Okay.
right? So they'll buy your position in the contract, and then they actually close on it. You get paid at closing for actually selling your rights to the contract. This is
Okay.
called an assignment of contract. This is one of the most powerful tools in this business because it gives you the ability to control real estate without owning it. It gives you the ability to actually generate a lot of wealth and cash without actually having to take a lot of risk and without actually having to tie up a lot of your own cash. So it gives you the ability to do tons and tons of deals without having to line up millions of dollars just to buy the property. So it's a powerful tool. It's one of the tools that you want to have in your tool belt because it's not always the ideal situation. You don't always want to do that. Sometimes you do want to go ahead and line up the money, take on the property, and you'll have much more opportunity as far as exit strategies. You could renovate. You can keep them as rentals. You could do creative structures, which I'll get into later. It gets a little more complicated. There's a lot more ways you can actually leverage the asset once you own it. But if you just don't have the access to it, you can actually find people that can actually help you out. They can buy your interest out of it, and they can actually pay you at closing, and you can still be involved that way. And a lot of people ask, do you need a license to get involved? Do you need a real estate license? Do you need to be a realtor? The answer is actually technically no. Now, you have to be very careful because you don't want to pretend like, oh, I'm a realtor, I'm listing your house for you. That's not how it works. You are actually a purchaser. You actually are a principal operating on your own behalf. You're not representing anybody when you're doing a transaction like this because you can get in serious trouble if you do not have a real estate license and you're trying to represent people and act as a real estate agent, right? So the key thing is you are a principal. You can buy and sell real estate on your own behalf legally in the state of Georgia without a license. So you have to do it on your own behalf, and you have to make sure that before you even go and talk to that person, you already have someone on the back end lined up to buy the property, because the worst thing to do is to go out and act like you can actually buy properties and you actually don't have the ability to. So that's one of the reasons I took it very seriously, to make sure I got the access to capital lined up through private lenders, through partnerships, through networks. So I know no matter what, even if I'm not able to sell the deal within the time frame of the contract, I can always have the money ready to go to close on it, take care of the seller, make sure they're covered, and they can walk away with their money in their pocket. So That's something I'm very serious about because I don't want people getting in legal trouble
Yeah.
trying to get involved in this business without having the right education, right knowledge. It's always best to educate yourself. It's good to have a license, to have access to the resources, and have access to the right people around you. But to technically get involved, you don't actually need one. Just so people know that anybody can actually do
Can
this.
I'm so overwhelmed here, just trying to get all this information. But before we finish the show, he will give his information. If any of us are really, really thinking like the way my mind is all over the place now, you can contact him. This is a very serious, God fearing man of God, that you know that you'll be saved. Okay, I don't bring people here that I haven't known for a while. I've been in Georgia for some time now. I've known him since I've been in Georgia. I've known the father and the mother. Very good upbringing and everything. So you are secure in every aspect. So we're going to put his information there. But what he's saying right here is very, very important. Please continue to share the video with somebody, tag somebody to come in. We are talking about great, great opportunity that some of us have overlooked for years. Real estate, what can we do? What can we do? So the information is very, very good. You don't want to keep it to yourself. So please share it on all the platforms, WhatsApp platform, whatever you are sharing there, it's going to be a blessing. Somebody have a question here, and he says that's your credit. In America, everything is credit. Yeah. So does your credit play a role in this?
Yes and no. It can play a role if you wanted to.
Okay.
So if you want to go the traditional route and get in bed with a bank, you absolutely feel free. You can absolutely do that. Personally, I avoid banks at all costs because there's actually better options for me. I have access to private lenders. I have access to partners. I have access to people that I can actually close on the properties with without actually having to run my credit and tie up my debt to income ratio. So one of the issues with the traditional way of doing real estate is you'll get capped at a certain point. I forgot the number, but I believe there's a certain number of properties that after you exceed that number, your debt to income ratio is tied up, and also you can't buy any more properties with traditional bank financing. The banks will actually cap you, and they won't let you buy any more traditionally. You'll have to find another way to get money. So with that said, if I want to continue to run my business, continue to grow and scale, I have to have other options lined up. So that's why, I've taken the time to actually invest in a lot of mentorships and a lot of courses and classes that taught me how to actually do real estate creatively without actually having to use banks, without actually having to get traditional loans and tie up your credit and things of that nature. So it's a little bit more advanced, but there are ways to actually buy properties with literally no credit whatsoever, with no cash out of your own pocket, and actually own it. Actually own it and actually keep it and hold on to it forever. There's a lot of creative options and strategies. Most people are just absolutely not aware. I wasn't aware of this stuff until even more later in my career. Okay. This is very niche information, but there are strategies out there where you can actually. I'll give you an example of one. You might be shocked to hear this, but I've actually bought properties for as little as $1,000, $2,000. $5,000. I bought properties literally for that cheap out of my own pocket, right? And the way it's possible, obviously we're in Atlanta. Where are you going to find a house for that type of price? The way you do that is through creative financing, creative structures, creative deal structures, where you can actually structure a deal in any way. There's a million ways you can do it, not just the one way that people know. There's actually a million different ways you can structure a real estate deal. And because of that, you can actually do it in such a way where you're coming out of pocket little to nothing, and you're still owning the property, you're still controlling the property, and you can build generational wealth with it. And so, one example is, I can go to a homeowner and say, hey, I'd love to buy your property, right? Now, I noticed that your house is worth $100,000, but now you owe $110,000, for example. Let me just use that as an example. They owe more than the house is worth. That's called being underwater. That's called their property being underwater, and that's a huge issue for a lot of people. That leaves your options very limited. Usually, the only way you can sell your property is either a short sale or some other strategy, but that's usually not favorable because that's going to hurt your credit. There's actually a way that I can buy their house without ever having to take on a new loan by actually taking their existing loan and actually taking their place. So I can actually buy the property and leave their loan in place. It's called buying a property subject to the existing financing. So there's a way you can buy properties and leave the existing loan in place and make payments on it, and you will be the new owner. Now, with that, there's, of course, some caveats you have to be aware about. You have to make sure your paperwork is done properly by attorneys. I always do every single deal with attorneys involved and make sure the paperwork is done very tight. But there are ways you can actually take on properties, leaving the debt in place. This is actually something that's very common in the commercial real estate world. It's just not as common in the residential world because people aren't as aware of it. But in the commercial world, it's very common for people to take over properties and leave the existing debt in place rather than going out and getting a brand new loan, paying the points, paying the closing costs, and all the fees associated with getting a new loan, and then of course tying up your credit. I just want to throw that in to get people's brains kind of running and thinking, oh wow, there's actually a lot of ways I can do this, not just one way, right? So that's the biggest thing, just knowing that there's multiple ways to do this business. It just takes creativity, takes education, really knowing what you're doing. But I can definitely, if somebody has more further questions about how to do real estate with no credit, with no money out of pocket and stuff, I can definitely dive a little more deeper, but this is just kind of in a nutshell, summary of that.
Okay. So I'm going to be chasing him because he's throwing it out there. So I don't know about you, but some of you really want to contact this guy, okay? Because if you can enter into this thing, I never even sat down to think about it, that you don't need your credit, you don't need money. All that you need is people like this who have read, have experienced doing it to just guide you what to do. And I'm telling you, if we are going to really be free in America, this is some of the information that we need. Because at the end of the day, even the Bible says that a poor man wisdom, you keep it to yourself. Nobody wants to hear you. You can be very anointed. You can be very wise. If you don't have things to prove, nobody even want to listen to you. And these are great informations that sometimes we don't have access to. But thank God we have a brother in the kingdom, a God-fearing man who wants to just share with you and me, and we can take advantage of it. Please, there's a lot of opportunity right there. And we thank God we have some people like this that can lead us into it. So please don't ignore this. This is like a master class. This is not just a normal Woman of Influence show. This is a master class. I will try and get him again. But take notes. Take notes. We're going to put his information there. And please make sure that if you need any help, if you want to enter into this thing, you don't have to bother about what you have there. I think some of us, when it comes to money, oh, I don't have money. I don't have money. You know, you will never have money if you are not doing things that will bring you money. It's as simple as that. You can have money when you are doing things that will give you money. So let's start doing things that will give us voice, that will give us money in this land. We will talk about it when it comes to renting and those things. When the city wants to change something or they want to alter something, they don't call renters. They call those who own. We have to start owning a piece of this land. Whether you want to go back to Africa or you don't want to go, you still can own a piece of this land. It's very, very important. I just want to throw it there. But looking at this economic climate, do you think I still have to think about taking this great opportunity?
Oh, no, you absolutely don't have to think about it. You just have to do it. The best time to start is now. Now, there's a lot of unique opportunities right now. Like I was mentioning, of course, with the inefficiency of the market, when things go down, it's actually a great opportunity to get in. But beyond that, there's actually unique opportunities right now, specifically with, if you know about the CARES Act, with the with this whole coronavirus situation, they put out a stimulus package with some new regulation and laws that are actually here to help us. And one of those things that's actually here to help us is there's actually something that is allowing people to take money out of their retirement accounts, their IRAs, 401ks, actually take up to $100,000 out of their retirement and actually use it penalty-free. Normally I think it's a 10% penalty, but you can actually use it penalty-free. You just have to return it within 3 years. So that's actually something that's available right now. And what better time than now to actually take advantage of that? So funny enough, one of my good friends, we're actually working with him. He's actually using his retirement money to invest with us right now as we speak, because he learned about this new opportunity with the CARES Act going on, and he took advantage. He took action. He said, "Hey, I have this money. What can I do with it?" I said, "Hey, this is what we can do. Let's invest in this," and we're actually closing in a couple days. So I'm very excited about that. The fact that I can actually help my friends and people around me with investing and actually using their retirement money to make better returns than they would make otherwise, it's very exciting for me and something I'm very passionate about.
So let me ask this. So this information you just passed just came because of COVID?
Yes. Yeah, that actually just came.
You see what I was talking about? In this COVID, people are making money. People are making investment. And all that you are thinking about every morning, would COVID come to me? Would COVID visit me? Will I go? You see, people are making money. When this thing started, I told my husband, oh God, some people are going to be rich while some people are going to be crying. Please, be wise. Don't be a victim of this COVID. Be a beneficiary. In this time, you can still turn things around for your benefit. Can you repeat that again? Maybe they didn't hear it. So because of the COVID, now you can go into your retirement and take something to invest in something. Is that what you are saying?
Correct. So you can actually, part of the CARES Act, and I encourage everyone to do your research and study up on it, but part of the CARES Act is you can actually take money out of your retirement account, IRA, 401k, and you can actually use that to invest in other things like real estate or whatever the case may be without any penalty. Normally for taking that money out, it's a 10%, you get a 10% hit, but that's actually wiped out right now for the time being, and you have about 3 years to use it and return it.
Wow.
So it's a great opportunity to do some, whether active investment, passive investment, there's a ton of opportunity out there. Just make sure you consult with your CPAs, with all your professionals to make sure you get the right counsel.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God. It's like I don't know what to do to myself right now. Thank you, dear. Thank you so much. Please. It's very, very important. This show is not just sitting here and talking. I mean, those of you who are very close to me, you know I'm not a talkative person. When God asked me to do this show, I hide myself till he couldn't find me anymore. But I needed to just hear what God is saying, and this is some of the things. To just turn, influence, and impact people's lives around. I never thought that I've never heard, I've been reading, all that is going on and everything. It never occurred to me that you can take part of your retirement to invest because of the situation we find ourselves in. For me, I'm just hearing this and I'm thinking, what can we do? I don't know about you. But this is great, great, great opportunity that we can jump in. Please, I don't want to repeat myself. But if you are complaining, you don't have money, anything, I don't have money, oh me, I can't afford this. You can't afford it. You don't have the money because you are not doing anything that will make you afford. You are not doing anything that will make you have the money. Hopefully, this will make you think twice. Like my mind here is rolling like crazy. You understand? But we thank God for his life, that he's sharing all these secrets with us. Please, don't let it end here. Continue to share the video. Thank you so much for watching. I've noticed a lot of people are watching. So thank you so much for watching. Please share the video, okay? just share it. Even if you don't like Woman of Influence, share this part, okay? Because I want somebody, in the next 2 months, the next 3 months, I want Josh to come and say that, Pastor, when I came to the show, this one contact me and we are closing. Oh, I will be so happy. I want to hear those things. So even if you don't like us, just share the video. Maybe somebody's life will be impacted. But thank you so much. If you are watching me, I know you love me. And I love you too. So thank you. All right. Thank you so much. But we have another question. How long is a creative way to purchase a home? No, I don't understand that question. How, how, maybe is how can I create a ways? I think so. How can I create some ways in purchasing a home? I think that's how the person wanted to put it.
Okay.
So how some of the ways I can,
Okay.
use to purchase a home?
Okay. So that's a good question. There's frankly so many different ways, and it would actually take me probably an entire day to get through all of it. But
Okay.
to really, I guess, give a few tidbits, I think one way is obviously buying it with cash, right?
One way is
If you
to buy
just
a new car.
if you just have a lot of money sitting around, if you just happen to have millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, God bless you. Like, go ahead,
Yeah.
buy the properties all cash, right?
Okay.
Now, if you don't have all that,
Yeah.
then the other way, which most people know about, is using banks, using traditional financing. That's the second common way. Now, if you don't want to do that, if you don't want to type your credit and all that, there's another way where you can actually use private lenders, right? So private lenders, those are just regular people, people like me and you, people like doctors, nurses, dentists, engineers, people that just have some money set aside, don't know what to do with it. They're not happy with what the stock market might be doing.
Yeah.
They might just want to put their money into something. Their savings account obviously not giving any type of return. So they want to put it into something that'll actually make a return. So you can actually, once you get good at your craft, I always, trust me, I emphasize you want to master your craft before you ever get someone else involved with you, because you're actually putting their life savings at risk, and you have to make sure you know what you're doing. So but once you actually are at the point where you can execute and you know what you're doing, even if you don't have the experience, you can have partners and mentors and people that can help you out. Then you can actually leverage private lenders, people that have money, whether in retirement or savings or whatnot. They can actually invest with you as a lender. They can be the bank rather than going to Bank of America. They can actually be the bank, and they can actually make a return on that loan. And then after you close on the property, you sell it or refinance it, whatever you decide to do. Because there's only two exit strategies, two ways to get rid of or get out of a property. It's either selling it or refinancing, which isn't really getting rid of it. You're just getting out of the loan. So selling and refinancing are the two ultimate exits, right? So once you get to that point, then the private lender is totally out of it. They get their money back, and they can rinse and repeat. They can do it over and over again. So that's our preferred way of doing it, just having private lenders and helping. It's a win-win. They get a great return on their investment. We get access to money where we can buy unlimited amounts of properties without having to be limited by the banks. So private lenders. Now, if you don't have access to that, you can always partner. You can do equity partnerships. Now, the only thing about equity partnerships is it's a lot easier to get, because the person is getting 50% or equity stake in your property, but they also share in both your wins and your failures. So if you succeed, they share in it. If you fail, they also share in it. So they have a little more skin in the game, so to speak. So that's something you can probably do when you're starting off, and you maybe have a good mentor of yours that you want to just partner with and start learning the ropes. That's a great way to get involved. Other ways, like I was mentioning, the creative financing options, which that can get very, very complicated and very complex. But some ways are taking over existing mortgages and just like taking over the payments of it and taking on the property. You could do land contracts. Land contracts, that's another more complicated structure, but basically it's like you technically don't own it until you make all the payments. So you're making payments on a property, and once you make your final payment, then you get ownership and title to the property. It reminds me of a car loan. You don't actually own the car till you pay it off, right? So it's similar to that. So there's land contracts. There's There's option contracts where you can actually just put an option on a property where, let's say, for example, this is very common in the development world where you can actually, find large tracts of land, right? And rather than actually buying them, you can actually just put options on them, which what that means is it's a piece of paper that gives you the right to buy it, but not the obligation to buy it.
Okay.
So you can buy this property for X dollars, right? But you don't have to. So it gives you some time where you can make a decision on what you want to do. And in that time frame, you can actually do a lot of very cool things like rezoning, and I don't want to get too technical, but you can start reassembling the properties, and then you can actually sell it to a developer that'll actually go in and build a subdivision, build a commercial development, build a shopping center, whatever the case may be, right? That's another way of getting into the business. You're technically not owning it, but you're controlling it, and you reap the benefits as if you owned it, as far as you can sell it and make a great profit on it. So that's another option. Options contracts. There's I could go on and on. There's lease purchases.
Okay.
Lease purchases is where you rent it for a period of time, predetermined period of time, let's say 2 years, and at the end of that time frame, you have the option to buy it. So it's two pieces of paper: a lease and an option.
Okay.
And what that allows you to do is you can have what's called a master lease agreement, and you can just lease the property, and then you can sublease it as long as it's on paper. You can sublease it, Airbnb it, just lease it out to someone else, whatever the case may be. Now you can control the real estate without owning it, right? So I could go on and on. There's so many ways of doing it, but these are just different ways you can get involved. You can have access to real estate and make plenty of money, generational wealth off of it, without having to have millions of dollars sitting around.
Wow. So we have the questions coming up like crazy now. So another question is, do you have a beginning classes for those who want to start, maybe online or somewhere?
So that's it's not something I have yet. Something I do see in the near future developing. Right now, it's really just a passion of mine, just sharing and pouring into people. I have plenty of friends that reach out to me wanting to learn, and I just freely just share the knowledge I have. And I've done deals with friends, of like close friends, like we've made money together, and there's no better feeling than knowing, wow, like I can actually not only just be friends with you, but we can actually make money together. We can build generational wealth together. Like it's fun at the end of the day. Like it's a lot of fun. I love what I do just because it's so fun to just be able to do business with anybody and everybody.
Wow. Okay. And how do you contact those private lenders? Do you have to know them personally?
Yeah, so
how do you,
that's a great question, actually. Because of securities law, you have to be very careful, and you don't solicit for lenders. You don't advertise, hey, I need to raise money for this. Who wants to invest with me? You don't do that for securities law reasons. This is purely friends and family. People that are close to you, and when I say friends and family, it could be people that are not even close to you, but like you have an established relationship with. So you might have known them for years, and you guys have already, have a track record together as far as knowing each other. Those are people that you can do that with. You don't just go out and advertise, hey, I need some money, I need to raise money for a deal. It gets very dicey from a securities law standpoint. And I want to share the real stuff with you guys, so you guys don't go out and make any mistakes that could cost you. This is stuff that a lot of people don't even know, and I see it all the time. But you definitely you want to keep that to people that you know, people that are close to you, people that just have money sitting around. Someone might have an uncle that's a doctor. They have a bunch of money sitting, they don't know what to do with it. Real estate is the perfect asset for that. Just park it in real estate. The cool thing is when you're a lender, you're in probably the most protected position there is. Because number one, the property is insured. So if anything happens, there's insurance for the property. Number two, there's title insurance. So the title of the property is insured. So the ownership interest is insured. Number three, you get paid out first before the actual the owner or the equity holder or whatnot. Lenders get paid first. They're first in line. They're called the first position lien holder. So being a lender is ideal. That's the top of the food chain. That's like where you want to be. Ideally, in the long run, you're passive. You're not actively managing the projects. You're not actively doing anything. You're just putting your money to work, and that's true investment. That's true investment. Investment is actually allocating resources and allowing it to produce a return, and that's truly what being a lender does. So we do some of that. Actually, some of the properties we buy, we offer them on seller finance basis, which means we act as the bank and we buy the property and then we finance somebody that might not have the credit, they might not have the right documentation and whatnot. We've done some for people that don't have social security numbers. We're able to get them financed, because there's so many different ways of doing it. So that's another, another nugget I want to drop in there. You don't have to have even all your paperwork in place.
Right.
There's ways of doing this business. You just have to know the right context and the right people. So yeah, I hope that
Wow.
answered the question.
That's awesome. So somebody is asking, what are the APR rate of the private lenders? Did they do those things with you? If
Okay.
it's your father or your uncle?
Right. So to be honest, that's a totally deal by deal basis, totally person by person basis.
Okay.
I mean, you can get low rates, you can get high rates. It just depends on what type of return do they need, what type of returns are they looking for, and we try to tailor the strategy around that. So, if we're doing a short-term loan, of course, interest rate is going to be higher because it's a shorter term and sometimes more risk. But if it's a longer-term investment, much lower interest rate because it's for a long-term hold. We have to make sure our returns actually make sense. So I can't give a solid answer on that, but it varies greatly. It's usually not going to be as low as rates as a bank because a bank has literally unlimited cash. But a private lender just gives you more flexibility. So that's the value.
That's awesome. And does bankruptcy affect if you have filed bankruptcy before? Does it affect those?
Yeah.
Stuff?
So bankruptcy affects your credit worthiness. So if you have a bankruptcy on your credit, it's going to affect your credit worthiness. But what I'm talking about is ways of doing real estate without using your credit whatsoever. So life happens. People make mistakes. Things happen. It doesn't have to determine your future or your destiny, right? You just have to learn the right strategies to get around it.
Okay. So another question: what are the pros and cons of leasing to purchase from a private homeowner?
Okay, so are you saying what are the pros and cons of leasing to purchase, like I was talking about? Okay, okay. So number one, less liability. You don't own the property, so you don't have the same legal liability as the owner. The owner will always have the most liability.
Okay.
So in fact, I mean, being the owner, the equity holder, you have the most liability of anyone involved, even more so than the lender. The lender might have all the money in it, but you have all the liability because your name is on title. You're the one owning the property. So if anyone trips and falls on your property, it's on you. So of course you have insurance for that, but generally speaking, the main value add is less liability, is less money out of pocket. You don't have to put up as much money. You can get into it without having to even get lenders involved and whatnot. You can just lease it for a period of time. So it's the ease of access to getting into the investment. It's not my favorite strategy for purchasing. I always like to own the properties or have actual equity or interest in it. But if I just can't do that, that's when it's like, okay, now I can explore maybe leasing it, just to maybe do maybe an Airbnb model or maybe doing a sublease model, whatever the case may be.
Wow, that's all good. We are almost out of time, but we have another question. It says, also, we need more people like you in the kingdom. So my people are liking you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we thank God for that. Should we really take opportunity about the lower interest rate, or it doesn't really matter? Or
no, that's a
Yeah.
fantastic question, because interest rate has such a huge impact.
Yeah.
Such a huge impact on the grand scheme of how much money you're actually putting into a property. So ideally, in this environment, having the interest rates as low as they are, it's a great time to get started. But what I caution people is don't just jump in for the sake of interest rates being low. You can make plenty of mistakes by doing that, by just trying to feel pressure to rush because interest rates are low.
Yeah, no.
To be honest, I don't see interest rates going anywhere. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not a Nostradamus. I don't know what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
It could go back up, but I don't see any real solid, concrete reasons for interest rates to rise drastically anytime in the near future. So there's no rush. You don't have to rush into getting into it just because interest rates are low. Make a wise investment. That's what's more important than anything. Buying right.
Yeah.
Because I always tell people the number one thing you can control is how you purchase a property, at what price you buy it at, what terms you buy it at. All that's all within your control. after that, I mean, the market could do anything and you have no control. So don't worry about what you can't control. Worry about what you can control and focus on buying the right property. Buy it at a discount. Always negotiate. I always tell people, like, never just buy something just because the price it says what it is. Like if it says 100K, don't just offer 100K just because. Like, negotiate. Everything is negotiable. Everything is negotiable. Even the price, the terms, the nuances of the contract. Every single thing is negotiable. You just have to be aware of that and be savvy enough to do it.
Wow. Thank you so, so much. It has been really, really a blessing. So now, with all that you have said, renting and buying, which one do you think is something that we really want to look into? Because sometimes I tell my people around me, when you are renting, I mean, you are just paying somebody's mortgage or somebody's something for them. But at least when you are owning, you know in the near future when anything happens. I mean, when we were doing the construction of this place, it got to a point that we needed to sell our home, you know, to get equity to help with a church building and everything, which we did. And the money that came out, you know, in 7 years that we live in that home, I'm like, what kind of investment would you do in America that will give you, you know, this? So I know there is a benefit of owning, you know, a piece of the land. So the renting and the buying, which one is really good for us?
That's another very common question. So the truth of that is it really depends on where you're at and what your goals are in life. Okay. I think renting is definitely a good option starting off in life. You know, before you settle down with family and whatnot and figure out where you want to stay long term, it's a good idea to rent because you have way less liability. You know, you can get out of it, you know, virtually anytime. Of course, you can sometimes you have to pay for breaking the lease, but generally speaking, way more flexible than owning a property. That's not as easy to get out of if you make a mistake. So generally speaking, you start off renting, I would recommend. But the point that you start looking into owning is, number one, you want to make sure you're debt-free, you get out of debt and pay everything off, because it won't be a blessing if you have all these bills and debt like weighing you down. Owning a house can be a blessing. It can also be a curse if you're not ready for it. Dave Ramsey always talks about that. And you know, so I recommend just being prepared first financially, having a lot of money saved up, you know, 6 to 12 months ideally. Putting a good amount of down payment is ideal. You don't want to just get into something because they can take little to no down. Like, you want to make sure that you're looking at the entire the grand scheme of things, because if you put less than 20% down, generally you have to pay what's called PMI. PMI is something that actually I think it's don't quote me on this, but it's something mortgage insurance. Basically, it's insurance over the mortgage, just in case you default and whatnot. Because you have such little equity or skin in the game, so they put that in place. So it just adds an additional cost that doesn't have to be there. So it's better to just find a way to save up 20% down, you know, buy with 20% down. This is more of a controversial one as far as whether to do it 15 or 30-year mortgage. Mathematically speaking, the 15-year make more sense. But you know, not everyone really wants the higher payment. But from a math standpoint, it makes more sense long term. By big margin. I mean, a 30-year mortgage, you're paying a lot more for the house than you would have otherwise. So 15-year mortgage is recommended. That's Dave Ramsey highly recommends that, and I talk about him a lot just because I think he's great for the average person to really know how to manage their money. So yeah, I would say just understanding that buying a house is great, but it can be a blessing. It can also be a curse if you're not ready for it. So you have to make sure you're ready first. The main thing also is understanding, like, this is a long-term thing. Like, you want to buy it to the point where you're so certain that you're going to hold on to that property forever. And the reason I say that is because the main benefits of real estate comes in when you own it for generations. Okay. That's the biggest value out of real estate. Why do I say that? Because there's something called a stepped-up basis. It's more of a technical term, but basically what it means is that when you pass away, right, and you pass the property on, it gets inherited by your future, you know, generations and whatnot. The value let me backtrack. In a normal sense, if I buy a house at, you know, $100,000 it ends up being worth 200 later, and I
Yeah.
sell it at 200. I get taxed on the difference. So it went up by 100,000. So you get taxed on that, right?
Okay.
Now, when you actually pass properties on generationally, this is why real estate is one of the best generational wealth building tools. Is the next person in line, the person that inherited, the value starts at the 200 versus
All those stuff. Where can we get you?
yes.
What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Best ways would be Instagram, most likely. Josiah underscore Q is my username.
Okay.
Um,
Abby,
Facebook,
can you put it there?
yeah, Facebook is great. You can find me. Josiah Kwanzaa is my
Okay.
full name.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is also great. I can't guarantee I can help everybody, but I'll help as many people as possible
Yeah.
with the time I have available because I truly do. I'm very passionate about this, and I want as many people to learn the benefits of real estate as possible to really get involved and change lives.
Yeah. So please, we are going to put all his information on our Facebook page, on Instagram, and I said it earlier. This is a proven, okay. This is a proven young man, very God fearing, worshiper of God, addicted musician, and addicted to Christ. Very awesome. It's just an awesome. Somebody said to have such people in the kingdom who will not be selfish about what they only can get, but just to come and share. I call him. I'm like, I need you here, and he's here to just share with us. And very, very deep. Most about 50% of the things that he said, I don't have any idea. I'm really going to go back home and watch the show and take some point, and I'm going to contact him later about some of the things that my mind is running with now. But it's great, great, great information. So I ask you to do the same. I mean, you can go, it will be on our YouTube channel. Subscribe so you can go back there and watch all those things. Of course, it's on Instagram, Victoria Krepi, and on Facebook to us you are watching. Share it in a group. Let somebody, get such a great information. I think it's a blessing. I know he's going to close. So I don't want to hold him here so much. He's a busy, busy man to give us a whole of his 1 hour. We are very, very grateful. So in your last word, what do you want our viewers to take from this master class? I call it master class. We'll do it again. But what do you want our viewers to take?
So I want the viewers to really understand that truly anything is possible. Anything is absolutely possible. You just have to have the right resources, the right knowledge, the right people around you. As long as you can assemble those things, you can do just about anything. I know that's a cliche thing. Anybody can say that, but real estate has truly shown me that that's true.
Wow.
People, literally starting from scratch and becoming multimillionaires. I started at the age of 19, had no money, nothing saved up, and I quit my job. Like 3 years later, I believe, and just it's what I do full time. I do this all day, every day, and it's changed my life completely. So like anybody can do this. Don't feel like you're not educated enough or you're not savvy enough to do this because you absolutely are. So I just wanted to share that encouragement with everyone.
Wow. That's very good. I think even as a church, we have to get you to come and, talk to some of us to really know, to just think about these things. It's a great, great, great opportunity out there that we can jump into it. But thank you so much for watching Woman of Influence. Next week, we are going to switch. It's a half of the year and we are trusting God. But I've been asking, where is our fathers? This gentleman sitting here because a father was home. Sometime it helped. Where is our fathers? What can we do as women to help to make sure our brothers are home, our fathers are home, our husbands are home? What kind of atmosphere that we have to create that when they go out, they will be running to come back home? I want us to touch on fatherhood next month for two weeks. I have one of very wonderful man of God, Dr. Moses, coming, and my own husband, who has been a great father to my children, are also going to sit in my chair. And we're going to talk about fatherhood. Please make a date with us and don't miss any of the shows. But once again, I'm very grateful. If I haven't said it again, I'm saying it. I'm very grateful for watching me today and continue watching and sharing all my video and liking my videos. I'm grateful. So woman of influence, please go out there and be a blessing to somebody today, and I will see you again. Thank you. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I have to mention this. This is a custom from a DT t-shirts and a custom made t-shirt. Please, if you want any custom made, try it. You will love it. So it's very, very simple. On Instagram, on Facebook, it's DT. I think it's DETE. Very simple. .com. You can order, and those of us who are from Africa, and even those of you who are here, we have some wonderful, wonderful African symbols that mean something. Okay, and she does all. You contact her and you will love it. But thank you so much, and God bless you. I will see you next Tuesday, same time at 12. God bless you. Bye bye.
Bless you.